Let's go to the main menu and click Guides. In the search box at the top, type in Bible Word Study separated by spaces. Under the Guides menu, locate Bible Word Study and click it. Now, the Bible Word Study Report requires a word. You can type in English, Hebrew, or Greek. Let's type in English, the word love. Now, over at the right, we have a keyboard icon. That allows us to select the language we want to type. We're going to type in English, so we'll leave the default keyboard, and we'll type in the word love. A drop-down menu will appear to let you confirm your choice. Let's choose love from the list. Now, right away, Logos has several sections. If your sections are all expanded, right-click on the first one and choose Collapse All from the menu. All right, let's expand the first section, Topic. Now, remember, we're doing a word study on an English word. So the results will look different once we change to Hebrew and Greek. So right away, we have Topic. And as you can see, there's many dictionaries that have this topic. Pretty straightforward there. We've seen this before. Let's click and close that down. Now, what I like about searching on an English word is under the Hebrew and Greek words, you get a list of all the Hebrew words that were translated into the English word love. This is really powerful. So essentially, these are all the Hebrew words that are connected to love in some way or another. Now, you can click on the Hebrew word, and it'll generate a list below in English of the passages, showing you the Hebrew word and the transliteration. So that's pretty helpful. Now, if you fold your mouse over the section of Hebrew words, you'll see settings. And if you click that, you can change the English translation. It typically draws from your prioritized resource. Let's click and close the Hebrew words. And let's click and expand the Greek word. And the Greek word section works just like the Hebrew. Again, you're finding all the related words. So what's going on is it sees the English word in the Bible and then generates a list of the underlying Greek words. And that's why these all look different. We've got agape, phileo, Philadelphia, and other different words. And again, if you click on any one of these, we'll click on Philadelphia, you can get a list of the passages there below. Let's close this section. Then we have senses, which Logos will look at the sense database and see all the variety of ways that love is used. Here's to love to care, loyal love, love affection, etc. And if you click and expand that, as we've demonstrated before, you'll then get a list of all the Hebrew words and Greek words and the associated verses. That's pretty handy. Let's click and minimize senses. Phrases is useful because it's going to show you how this word is used with ideas, with thoughts. So love of money, God's love, brotherly love. I really find this quite helpful because it helps me think about this word from a variety of angles, and that can be very useful when you think about how this word is used. Notice we also have a link to a topic guide to go deeper in understanding these particular phrases. Textual searches will actually run a concordance search against the list of resources that are there. So if we wanted to see every place where love exists in the New King James, we click that link, and then a concordance search will open up at the right, and now we can look at every passage. Now, this information is the combination of the Hebrew words and Greek words verses, but now you get in one giant list. Let's go ahead and click the X to close the search box. Now, the second thing I want to show you is what happens when you put in a Hebrew or a Greek word. All right, let's type a Hebrew word. Let's delete what's in there. We'll click on the keyboard selector and choose Hebrew, and let's just type in BR. We get a drop-down menu of the various items. Let's choose the first one for grain. Let's go ahead and right-click and choose Collapse All. You notice there's now some new sections. Let's click on Lemma. This will give us not only the pronunciation by clicking on the speaker, but links to our lexicons. We can also click on morphology charts to see the various forms of this particular lemma. Let's click and close Lemma. Translation will show you how the Hebrew word has been translated into English words. And if we click one of the rings, we can see the list of verses below. And if we float our mouse over it, the ring switches and we put the English word in the center, and now we see all the various Hebrew words connected to the word grain. That's pretty handy. We can click on settings at the top right and change our default English translation. Let's click and minimize that. The root word will look at the root and see and find other related words. So if you're looking for related words, in this case to BR, we have a list generated here. Be careful with root words. It can sometimes lead you to making connections that really aren't there. A word means what it means in its context. Now let's click on senses. We've seen this before. Notice that we've got a ring. We've got a couple possibilities here, grain as fruit and grain as a plant. Now, example uses is pretty helpful. In this case, it's showing us how it's functioning grammatically in the sentence. So we see here this being used as a direct object in Genesis 41:35 as grain, and a direct object in Joel 2:24 as wheat. Now, clause participants is kind of fascinating, and it helps us to see more relationships. Now, currently, we're looking at grammatical roles versus semantic roles. We'll look at that in a second. So in the grammatical role, we're looking seed in relation to. And so we see this, stored up grain. So there's a relationship between the grain and the storing of it. We can also see wheat, and we can also see bread. So these are three different examples of how the grain, the wheat, the bread are functioning in a sentence. Now with semantic roles, we can see these categories. So patient, for example, the person or thing is acted upon or caused to change. For example, David killed Goliath. So if we click and expand seed, we can see this. Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain. So we can see that this was part of a purchase. Again, this just helps you to see relationships with different parts of the sentence. In this case, there's no case frames. We'll look at this in a little bit. Preposition use is really helpful. You have a visual here to understand the various prepositions and if it's connected. Now, we can see there is some shading here. If we click on that, we can see the Hebrew word connected to a preposition. So this helps you see how the word is related to prepositions. That can be very powerful at times. Phrases, in this case, there's none. Lemma in a passage, we'll find this in various commentaries. And this is a great way to look up a word and see what others have said, what it means. We have lemma in passage. We've seen this before. Here's the books that cover it. Now, other lemmas, we haven't looked at that section, but again, this is going to help you find relationships with other words. So if we expand the Genesis, here's our Hebrew word. We can go to Genesis 41:33-36, read through this, and understand the relationship to other lemmas. You can also click on resource to view it as a resource. The last one is textual searches. This will search for your Hebrew word in a variety of other resources. In this case, if you have the Dead Sea Scrolls, it can look through that, and that can be pretty handy. Now let's change this to a Greek word. So let's click on the Hebrew letter and choose Greek, and let's type in the letters A-G-A-P-A. And we have agapao for love. I'm going to right-click on lemma and collapse all, and let's take a look at the sections that we did not look at last time. So here we have case frames. We can expand that, and now we can see these different case frames, experience, stimulus. Now, if we expand that, we'll get a better understanding of what's going on. You shall love your neighbor. So we see this connection between love and neighbor. This is pretty handy. All right, so you have an experiencer and stimulus. Now, if you need to know what these words mean, float your mouse over them. You'll get an instant definition. Here we have the preposition use, and if we float our mouse over it, we can see what's going on. We have in and we have through. And again, if we click on these, we can see how the prepositions are connected to our word. In this case, in, to love, and if we click on through, we can see through him who loved us. So pretty handy there. Now, in the case of phrases, we've expanded that. We have a daughter of Hosea who was given a prophetic name, Lo Ruhamah. And if we click on that, we can see the name in Greek, and we can see that agape is part of that. So now we can go and explore this connection and see if there's any relevancy to the word we're studying. Let's go ahead and close that resource. Now, before we close this up, you should be aware that if you click on a Bible, you can link a Bible to the Bible Word Study Report. So let's click on the three vertical dots, the stoplight menu, and choose Link Set A. And let's repeat this process with the Bible Word Study Guide. So we click the three dots, choose Link Set A, and now what we can do is we can click on a word, let's say created in our Bible, and now the Bible Word Study Report has jumped to that Hebrew word. So if you're interested in doing a lot of word studies, this is a great shortcut. Keep in mind, this only works if your Bible is an interlinear Bible that has an underlying Greek and Hebrew word. It can also work with a Hebrew Bible or a Greek Bible as well. All right, let's go ahead and click Close All Panels to close this resource.